So, US elections got concluded today, and it is very clear that Donald Trump is the new president of United States of America. Well, congratulations to those who voted for them, and well, the other party, better luck next time. But what does this mean for the markets, and what is his economic perspective? That's something that is becoming an important discussion point at this stage. So, what I've done is just captured and looked back into what he has done in his previous presidential reign and what how has the policies been and how has he looked at economics. This is not a commentary on personality, or this is not a commentary. This has nothing to do with my opinion. This is rather what has happened and how does the outlook look like. So this is a fairly deep dive conversation, so stick around till the very end to understand the potential impact. I mean, I do get the fact that everybody has a very basic question. I hold a certain number of stocks in my portfolio. What do I do with that? There are certain sectors, what are going to happen in that? But keeping track of macro trends are very, very important because they give you a picture of where things are likely going to be moving. So let's start with this. So the first term, I think it was very clear that he has made a significant impact domestically and internationally. And I think there was a significant focus on tax reform, deregulation, trade protection, and energy independence. And there's a lot of America First ideology that was thought around. Now, this is not bad because, as a president, you're supposed to protect your policies and you're supposed to protect your people. There are certain policies that people will agree, there are certain policies that people will not agree. Let's dive in. So, the first has been the tax reform and domestic economic policy. So, basically, lowering of taxation was the key. And does this help boost economics? Absolutely. So there would be more capital investment because the taxation rate would come down, job creation could be boosted, etc., etc. Now, this does lead to some sort of disproportionate benefits and the gap between the overall divide between rich and poor. But again, he has been pro tax cut and job promotion and job creator. So that has been one of his stance. The second was deregulation, and I think a lot of environmental ESG, those are the key areas that he's not very pro on. So he has dented or he has made policies which has supported businesses more, even if it has affected the environment adversary. So the narrative has been that this has been claimed essential for reducing compliance cost for business. So maybe there are certain industries that could be impacted because of this. Energy policies, I think a lot of more increased domestic oil production in the US, and this could lead to a lot of climate change initiatives and reduce and have a big impact on sustainability efforts. But again, to his point, which I said previous, is improving the quality of business and improving the profitability of business. This is the kind of risk that he's willing to take. The second point is trade protection and international trade policies. A lot of traffics, I think some sort of anti-China theme can be seen. Increased cost for American consumers and businesses. China would do something and US would do something. How this impacts India would is unclear. Probably there might be a gain, but yeah, that's what it is. Immigration and labor policies, there were limits on H1B raised, tighter immigration to protect American jobs. Now, this could impact certain sectors where India provides services. So, technology industry could see a potential dent. Specifically, technology service providers could see a potential dent. However, this also depends on how the relationship with India is supposed to grow. He is friends with Prime Minister Modi, as the world sees and knows, and that could probably in the times to come there is a potential of improvement in this area. How this impacts the market, again, the technology sector is Indian technology sector is very tied to US markets. So if somebody goes big pro on building technology in house, then the cost arbitrage model could see a dent, which could potentially see an impact on the technology sector. There could also be an impact on the healthcare sector because the business model that Obama bought in terms of value based care, now he might not be looking at that, or he might be bringing a different kind of cost model which is supposed to be seen. How has the US India relationship been? I think there has been a good recognition to India, which is a counterbalance to China in Asia, because he has always strengthened the strategic and defense ties. So there has been key agreements, and a lot of diplomatic engagements have happened between the leaders, like Howdy Modi and Namaste Trump, those kind of diplomatic engagements. There has been some trade disputes as well. There was some sort of a generalized system of preference which has affected economic relation. The higher tariff on American products and dispute over specific goods have been seen in the past, which could be an area of improvement. Increased US exports of oil and natural gas to India. I think this could be another area where we could see a potential growth. New industries like cybersecurity and securing technology supply chain could become important, as we are seeing that AI is also becoming a hub for a lot of American companies. Like Nvidia recently partnered with Reliance to open a whole AI center, AI hub in India. So those sort of technology pushes could also see potential growth in certain sectors. So technology overall could go both sides at this stage, depending on how things play out. Basis the past or basis collaborations, large business collaborations, it does seem to be on the positive side. But if Trump tightens the rope around visa policies and all service arbitrages that technology enjoys, we could see a potential impact. So what will be the final impact? I think this is where everybody has been more interested in. So net, there should be a positive market correlation, because historical correlation between US and Indian stock markets have already existed. There are benefits anticipated for both markets, particularly in sectors which are more asset driven. So things like infrastructure, real estate, Bitcoin is already seeing a boon. Technology, finance, these kind of could see a potential gain. Corporate profits could also potentially increase because of his pro lower taxation slab. But again, how this impacts Indian businesses, or how does this impact companies which are centered in India, could be different, because he wants to bring money back to US, and that has been something which has been very clear upon. There will definitely be sector wise impact, like ESG and green energy stocks may face challenges because there will be lack of government support. Bitcoin and gold would see growth because I think he has that psychology of real estate, that asset backed money. So if you have an investor in gold and Bitcoin, there is a potential of upside. And finally, as I just said, Bitcoin and real estate growth would be seen, and America first agenda would also cut. So if you are working in organizations, or if you are working in companies which are completely US driven, you would definitely see a potential upside there. And so that's pretty much it. So the overall narrative seems to reflect that there would be a good stimulus pushed into the economy. However, how they are realized, which is either by tax cuts, reducing regulatory burdens, or maybe foreign competition reduction, energy independence, these could be positive areas, but there are negative approaches to doing this as well. However, the early news, the world is reacting positively. Cannot say the same for the people who would have probably voted for Kamala Harris at the same time. All right. So, yeah, with that, for investors, I think it's very, very important to stay informed. You should diversify your investment and exercise caution. A bit of general advice, but I think it goes a long way. What should you do at this stage? I believe in doing nothing. If you're an investor like me, there's no point in making sudden changes to your investment, either portfolio basis or government change. Specifically, this significant. There could be possibilities of doing that, but as you are observing in Indian market, there has been a little bit correction in the past few weeks. Not a lot, a little bit. So again, the potential upside can now be start to seen at this point in time forwards. Maybe the market had already factored in that Trump is going to win. Who knows? All right, with that, this is Akash Verma. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.